Our Advent reflection today is about valuing the ordinary, enriching the mundane. And the child grew. That's the header that was put on verses 39 to 40 and verse 52 of Luke chapter 2. So I stopped and thought, what's special about that? Because that's what children do. They grow, and usually very fast, and the vast majority grow well. So why comment on this in the Gospels? And in fact, do so twice, as our passage today recognises. I appreciate that for some parents, they've had to face the trauma and challenge of a child that did not grow or did not grow healthily. God knows the heartache of that too, as he is the father ultimately of all. And with the very high infant mortality rates of those days and in that part of the world, that the child grew was a wonder in itself and something to be thankful for. The comment about the child grew is not unique to Jesus. In Luke chapter 1, we read a similar statement about the child John. Verse 80, the child grew and became strong in spirit, which clearly is linked to the first statement about the child Jesus. And the second statement about Jesus' growth in verse 52 is clearly meant to recall another child of promise from the ancient scriptures. Samuel, the firstborn son of Hannah, a woman who had endured years of infertility and was mocked for her failure to conceive. When she gave birth to Samuel and had weaned him, she dedicated him to God's service. And as the ancient scriptures note, that the child Samuel grew in stature, in favour with the Lord and with the people, just like Jesus did. That the child Jesus grew and that the boy Jesus matured is in many senses not a unique feature of his life. Rather, it's an affirmation of the ordinariness, yet good way in which he developed as a child. There were lots of reasons why he may not have grown well or in a good way. Like many other children, he grew up in a working class home, but in a colonized society with a fairly oppressive military presence by the foreign control of Rome. He had experienced 2 migrations, one from Bethlehem to Egypt under the threat of death, and then another from Egypt to Nazareth in the hope that the family could hide away in a rural town. He may have heard the early whispers about his questionable parentage, which became full-blown statements in his adulthood. And these things can really mess up your head regarding your own identity and sense of self-worth. That's the point that the Hebrew writer makes, that here was God the Son learning to handle what it means to be human among fallen humans, which is a very messy world to be in. In Hebrews 1 verse 10 it notes that God would establish the perfect qualities of Jesus through the process of living through hard times. Hebrews 5 verse 8 comments that Jesus learned obedience through what he suffered. This child, like any other child, had to learn the hard way. In fact, there is perhaps no other way to learn to be human than to experience the newborn baby stuff all the way to adulthood. And so the note that the child grew reminds us of God the Son's willingness to do things the hard way, the ordinary way, in order to become the Saviour of the world. So as we continue to live the human stuff today, let us also learn obedience through the struggle. It is an honourable pathway, a Christ-sanctioned road, sanctified by God's personal experience.